Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Channel 4 News has revealed details of new combustible materials that were used in the cladding at Grenfell Tower when it was renovated last year. Now, a new question. Did the refurbishment create air spaces between the new windows and the building's original walls that increased the fire's ability to spread rapidly? Our science editor, Tom Clark, reports.
What's left of the facade of Grenfell Tower is blackened and twisted. But does it contain clues to what could be a catastrophic technical flaw in its refurbishment? A design detail which could offer an explanation as to why a raging fire in the cladding on the outside of the building quickly found its way inside with fatal consequences. Channel 4 News has seen detailed design drawings submitted for planning approval. And those drawings reveal a major question mark about whether air spaces were created in the renovated building that could have been a conduit for fire. The first clues may have emerged as soon as the fire started. Antonio Roncolato was asleep in his 10th floor flat when the fire broke out. Seeing the smoke and flame outside, he shut his windows to keep falling debris out.
There was smoke coming through the windows ledges, the side of the windows basically, and that was very, very scary. And I realized, my God, why is the smoke coming through? The windows are brand new, just been made. The job has been just finished a year ago or so. And the living room filled up with very white, thick smoke.
In the 5 hours he waited to be rescued, he took photos.
Here is the window, one of the windows in my living room. This white bit here is the reflection of the curtain inside the living room. And here you have this, on the window ledges, you have this smoke coming through. These are puffs of smoke coming through from all the windows in the living room.
But how could that smoke containing toxic chemicals like cyanide come in around a closed window? There have been major cladding fires elsewhere, like this one in France, and here in Dubai, but there were few, if any, casualties because these fires didn't get inside the buildings. That's not what happened at Grenfell. Once alight, the fire in the cladding made its way around the building and into nearly every flat. One explanation could be that the windows were no longer in the wall of the building, but in the cladding itself.
This in black is the old position of the window.
That's the old position.
And they've moved it forward as part of the refurb.
Exactly. The new windows and the rain screen cladding with its insulation is moved outside of the old concrete openings.
But this isn't all that Ian Abley spotted while studying these drawings online. Our investigation is based on planning drawings, which can be modified during construction. But as drawn, Ian Abley spotted a major issue.
Making the decision to move that window forward leaves this gap, which does have to be resolved,
yes,
correct, to make this a fire-safe building.
Yeah, and those architects and those contractors could have solved that detail. If they couldn't have solved that detail, they shouldn't be moving the window. If they haven't solved that detail, there's a gap.
Was that gap present on Grenfell Tower? Because we've only seen planning drawings, we can't be sure. But in this low-resolution image from the construction phase, you can see strips of black weatherproofing filling a gap between the new windows and the concrete. Materials like this are permitted under building regulations, but not to protect against fire. Remnants of this filling material appear to be present between the central concrete column and the window on the left-hand side of these pictures. But around the window on the right, it's burned away, exposing a gap. So could it explain how smoke made its way into Antonio's flat?
Yes, it could. You've got the potential for the external cavity full of smoke and heat to be connected to the inside of the flat through underneath the windowsills. But even when the fire originally started in the first flat that the fire brigade attended to, if they put the fire out in the flat, if heat and flame had ignited materials in the cavity from the inside of the first flat and had stayed in the cavity, smouldering, the fire brigade wouldn't have been able to see it because it's a cavity fire, and that's a big risk for the fire brigade.
Studio E Architects Limited, who designed the refurbishment, did not respond to our request for comment. We asked Ryden Construction, the primary contractor, to explain how the potential flaw was overcome. They referred us to their subcontractor Harley Facades, which carried out the exterior works. It told us it could not comment on the technical drawings. Kensington and Chelsea Council had responsibility for inspecting the building and certifying it as safe. In a statement, it told us,
"The Council is committed to cooperating fully with both the public inquiry and the criminal investigation. We do not think it's right to disclose documents or make comments relevant to the inquiry or subject to the investigation until this issue has been discussed with the police and the solicitors to the public inquiry once they have been appointed."
The criminal investigation into Grenfell must run its course, but can questions about the design of and materials used on high-rise cladding systems wait? At least 200 blocks have been identified as having combustible cladding on the outside. Will investigators now look beneath it to ensure they're fire safe?
Tom Clark reporting. Well, a short while ago I spoke to Labour MP Clive Betts, who's the newly elected chair of the Local Government Select Committee in the Commons. I began by asking him if he'd been shocked by some of the revelations coming to light in the wake of the Grenfell fire.
Absolutely, and I think just to put it in context, there's a lot of work going on testing cladding, but I think all the information about fire prevention is it's not just one aspect of a building's material. It is the cladding, it's the insulation, it's the fire stops, it's the cavities, it's fire doors, it's how they all work together or don't work together to prevent a fire spreading. So I think there are a lot of questions in this area about building regulations, how they're implemented, and who is accountable when there's a failure.
Because many of those things have failed, haven't they, by the sounds of it, and not just at Grenfell Tower. This is a more widespread issue.
Well, it is, and that's why cladding is being tested on tower blocks up and down the country. But this is something in the round that we need to look at. And currently, cladding is being tested, but I think there are wider issues about making a building as a whole and all the materials in it and the way it's designed safe. And of course, taking account of the fact that it's not merely the way a building is first built, but when any improvement works, any additional works are carried out, that those works work in conjunction with the existing materials on the building and don't cause problems.
And you accept and understand that there is a huge level of distrust here, but also across the country in flats where fire doors are missing and regulations have clearly not been adhered to. How can you convince people that any review you might do, or the criminal investigation, or the public inquiry won't just be a whitewash, won't just be meaningless?
Select committees don't do whitewash in my experience. We take evidence, we receive evidence from anyone who wants to submit it, and we scrutinise what government does. That's our role. We'll scrutinise whether the building regulations that government has in place are fit for purpose. We'll scrutinise why they haven't been updated in the light of previous disasters. So I can assure you any select committee inquiry, and that's for the select committee to decide if they want to proceed along this basis when they're formed, won't be a whitewash. And I think at the end of the day, those who've been traumatised by this event are only going to be convinced when they see the conclusion to the inquiries in the investigations and get very clear recommendations, and those recommendations are then followed up.
Well, there are clearly many questions for the bereaved and survivors of the fire, but despite an ongoing police investigation and a public inquiry, many are not confident they will get those answers. Emotions ran high at a public meeting last night as residents heckled the officer in charge of the police investigation, demanding to know why no one had yet been arrested. Another vigil was held to remember the victims, with many still to be formally identified. This evening, though, police confirmed that 13-year-old Yahya Hashim died in the fire. It's thought he was with his parents when he died. His aunt has described him as the most pure-hearted boy she ever knew. Well, I'm joined now by Sajid Jamal Vatan, a student who lived on the 3rd floor of the block. Sajid, I know you've been talking to a lot of residents, a lot of survivors from the tower. There's a lot of anger still, isn't there? Why is that?
It's been 4 weeks now, a month. I want to actually tell people what happened to you in the whole month. We went from the trauma to depression, and now we're leading to fear. Why are we leading to fear now? It's a big question, because we don't know what's going to happen next. We are scared.
What are you scared of? Why are the residents that they still don't trust the police? They don't trust the authorities?
We don't trust anyone. We don't trust anyone. There is a reason for it. We don't trust anyone. Why the police has interviewed every single person in the Grenfell Tower, the people who suffered from trauma, but these people on TMO, they step aside, they do something else.
That's the tenant management organisation.
Exactly. Why they're not getting interviewed? Why the police are not approaching them? Why they're approaching us? We are vulnerable people. We lost, let's look at this. We lost everything. I lost my neighbours. I lost my family. When I say family, it's Grenfell Tower family. Look at the 21st floor. What do you see? I see Al Fahabi family there. I see Yasin, Mehdi, everyone. Who's going to be there to represent their voices? Me? I can't do that. You can't do that. They need to be alive, talking on behalf of themselves. What we can do about this? Nothing. What the government can do about this? Nothing.
What do you want the authorities to do? What do they need to do? There was a very slow response from the council. Everyone admitted that.
Let's go back in time.
Is it better now?
Let's go back in time when Theresa May came here and she focused on the camera. She said, well, yeah, she had to say, she didn't even come to say hi to us. Okay, we take that. We take another pain. What happens next? Westfield, Rugby Plus, whatever, Rugby Centre. Why disabled people have to run to this place to get their papers signed? Why they're not coming to us with a doctor, nutritionist, psychologist, psychiatrist, solicitor, and all the crews, to us? We lost everything. When we were there, we had key worker. Where is the key worker now? Where's the social worker? Where is the government? Where is the police? Where is the firefighter? Where is it now? They're on holidays?
I mean, you've had to look after your mother and your sister.
Yes.
Who have both been very, very badly affected, not surprisingly, by what's happened. How are they? I mean, how are they coping? How are you coping?
One shock to another. My mom had some, time that she had to go to hospital purely because of the panic attack. My sister, she told me what is the point of living. Now, as a brother, as someone who's a little bit younger, you want to hear this from your sister? This is the last thing you want to hear from your sister. Trust me. Put yourself in my shoes, and then you see where I'm come from. Your sister, what is the point of living life? The same sister on the 3rd floor, and the night of a fire, and I take your sister, come, let's go watch a movie. She'd be like, you know what, I'm tired, because,
Because you were at the cinema and came back to the fire.
We came back to the fire. 4th floor, 5th floor, 6 up to 16 on fire, and I'm running. Bullet point, I'm running. I see 18th floor on fire already in 10 seconds. And people take me every minute, every 10 seconds, every 15 minutes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, fire goes from that side, comes to this side. And people from this side thinking they're safe. And police says remain inside. Why? Because of emergency. What emergency? The cladding emergency? The sprinklers emergency? The helicopters helping this fire emergency? You're telling me all that bullshit? All this rubbish?
Clearly, for very good reason.
They're there to kill us. They're there to kill us. Can you not believe this? Is this accident to you? Does that look like an accident?
So, the response at the beginning was slow. The police now, they keep coming out, they keep trying to reassure people we're doing everything we can.
They keep coming to the meetings saying, how are you hiding? So this is our question. To be honest, we don't know. You're telling me you're in police for 25 years and you don't know? Well, I know something. Let me share it with you. Why are you not calling me? I've got a list of 123 people dead. Why the police right now? Why they're not here? Why the police is not? Why the?
Because you still distrust the numbers that the police are giving out.
Yeah. What is 80 plus? 5 million is 80 plus. 500 billion is 50 plus. It's 80 plus. Look at this building. I mean,
you have tried to collate your own list of the people who might have been in the building
God,
that
there's
night.
so many Christian and Muslim living in that building. I don't know who cares about this, but I do care. I'm Muslim myself. These people, one at least survived from every floor. Now I get the chance to go and share the pain, and I get the information out of them. Now I've got this list. Every single person from every floor, I've come to them, I've spoken with them, and I get to know what happened in that night. So
you're clear that there are more than 80 people who
There
have
is more
died.
than 123 people. That's nothing. I say 150, I say 160. But next week, I might come to 160. The police is still in 80, 81. After 100 years, 82.
I mean, the police say that they have been quite clear, they've done as much work as they can, and that they're confident The figure is terrible already at 80.
I'm a biomedical engineering student. I can go right now up there, take the ashes, take you to my laboratory, and I tell you this is a dog ash, this is your grandparents' ash from 1980s, this is your ash. I take it, I can do it myself right now.
Is there anything that the council, the police, that anyone can do to rebuild trust?
Yes.
So that you feel confident in the police investigation, so that you feel confident in the public inquiry?
Would you know what I say? Come out of the fridge. You have a cold heart there. You know, come to the environment, feel the room temperature. This is the room temperature.
You think they're not speaking directly to you enough?
They're standing in our faces telling we don't know. And you look at their eyes and you're saying, you've been there for 25 years in this government and you don't know.
Sajid, we have to leave it there. Sajid Jamal Vatan, thank you so much for joining us today. Clearly, many issues here. There are other difficult issues dividing the council and residents in this area, and we'll be back later with more. One of the consequences of this horrific fire has been to expose what residents say is the huge gulf between the people who live in this part of the borough and the people who run it, an accusation which gained added weight when the new leader of the council admitted she'd never been in a tower block. Residents believe they are being slowly squeezed out. Last year, Kensington and Chelsea Council unveiled plans to lease one of this area's oldest libraries to a private school. Now, in this Conservative-run borough, a short walk from Grenfell Tower, residents are again locked in battle, this time to save an adult education centre, with plans afoot to turn much of the site into flats. It's a constant presence across the skyline of North Kensington. The fire exposed the bitter history of Grenfell Tower, the battles between residents and their council. 10 minutes walk away, the local college is now subject of a new battle. It was sold to Kensington and Chelsea Borough Council last year as part of a £25 million deal. This is the first meeting the college management have had to explain the move to the community.
So just very briefly, I'm Mary Kerner-Cook, and in the last few weeks I've taken over as chair of the governing body here at Kensington and Chelsea.
Has it occurred to you that this is a lifeline for a lot of us, has been for many generations, a lot of us who have physical and mental limitations, at a moment where we've lost Grenfell and we've lost so many people of our own, to have another demolition and regeneration, have you any idea how that feels for us?
There is this ongoing anxiety and concern, outrage really, about the level of regeneration that's going on in the borough and what that really means. But I do think there is a feeling amongst the less affluent population that they are just simply being pushed out, that they're not wanted and they're being pushed out.
The council say their plans are still in the early stages, but the college insists there'll still be an educational facility on the site offering 21st century learning. But promises of regeneration, of change for the better, are a hard sell round here right now.
We are not yet in dialogue with any developers or such, because actually that is a relationship that exists currently with the council.
So resigned to letting it go, no fight at all. Why aren't you giving us some? No one seems to be showing any enthusiasm.
It shows you're not local, to be honest. Sorry.
Disgrace.
It shows you don't understand the nature of North Kensington.
I worked at the college for many years as a teacher of ESOL, English for Speakers of Other Languages. People come, learn English, move on to maybe an access course, go to university and start working. There are people in Golborne Road who run successful businesses now.
I studied in this college from the very beginning when I arrived in this country back in '95. So I started the language from ABC, and I improved my language in there and learned English and improved, and that equipped me to do further education and higher education. Kingston and Chelsea College equipped me to run a business today, to look after my family.
There's a national picture here, in that the government's austerity programme has hit education. It's particularly hit adult education.
In a statement, the council say the acquisition of the college was a standard commercial transaction. For students, its value is described very differently.
I've heard everything that you've said. Demolishing this place. This place is my success story.
Yeah.
I came here in 2007. I did the pre-access course. I did the access course in 2008. I finished in 2009. Left here in 2009. I went to University of Northampton and I graduated with a bachelor's honours because of this place.
That's what we're all about here. And it's about the staff. It's not about the bricks and mortar, it's about the staff.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, madam. The site's gone from 50,000 square feet to somewhere between 15 and 30, and it might not be here. We don't, and no consultation's taken place at that time. It's very difficult, really, to find a convincing case for why that building has to be demolished.
When I see people like our councillors and the people who are making the decisions who are so privileged, they've gone to the best universities, they've gone to the best schools, and we just get the crumbs and then they're taking those crumbs away from us, that's enough to make anybody angry. Don't demolish our college. We will not have it. We just won't have it. We're not taking it. It's our college, and it should be first, and it should be independent, and we will find ways of financing it.
I feel a bit kind of ravaged up here. I've, you know,
How do you think we feel? How do you think we feel?
I had heard that there was a lot of unrest and anger in the community.
Just to sum up the meeting, do you think that this has got anywhere? And what's the difference between mucking about and faffing about? Because really and truly, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here.
This is mine. My theme is like the ancient. My mind's been open. The teachers take time. I'm an awkward person to train. You know, if anybody can make me do work like this, then they can help anyone.
My thanks are very genuine, and I wish you well, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The college governors and the council say no final plan for the site has been decided. They'll need to hear the public views on that first.
I would like to see the college governors fight for the college in the same way that we are, because I think in their hearts they are now being able to see what it really means, what this asset really means to the community, and I look forward to kind of working with them to make that happen.
Well, I'm joined now by Andrew Boff, a Conservative member of the London Assembly, and the artists Bob and Roberta Smith. Bob and Roberta Smith, it was very clear the passion people felt for that local adult education college in the piece. You're a university lecturer. What do those places mean?
Well, I think that college is as important to North Kensington as the V&A is to South Kensington. And crikey, there's incredible culture going on in here in North Kensington. And sometimes we preference one group's culture over another group's culture. That college is doing incredible work. It's a feeder institution for the university that I teach. It's all about access. It advertises itself as the Access College. Go and get a university degree. Come and start that journey here. By closing it, by building luxury flats on it, you're shutting down the future. And it's an obscenity.
Now,
it's an obscenity.
What the council will say is that the plans haven't been decided and there will be some sort of educational facility on that site, but the residents
prep school.
The residents don't believe them.
Well, the whole job of local authorities is to engage with residents and make sure they're participating in decisions about the future. You know, you don't blame council sometimes for struggling with decisions about housing that are related to housing.
They should be pouring money into that centre because of what's happened here.
You know, these centres are vital. Absolutely, culture matters, and it's an important part of building communities rather than just houses. But local authorities have to balance those. We need to build 49,000 homes a year in order to just stay where we are.
London is building tradable assets. That's what it's building for Qatari businessmen to trade in and Russians to trade in. Those are the houses that have been built in London.
Given what's happened, we know there is a housing crisis.
Of course there's a housing crisis, but it's not the right thing for that council to sell that amazing asset, and then it's not clear what on earth that they're going to do with it, whether they're going to, you know, sell that land and have a property developed.
I think what's important is the debate has to carry on. The debate with residents about what their priorities are. The reason why we don't build. The reason why we don't build.
The reason why we don't build on royal parks is because we've decided that the green spaces are important for human beings. Education is important for human beings.
And I agree
well.
with you. You know, we're not disagreeing here.
Isn't it right that a development, particularly, and say the council continually say the plans haven't been finalised, but isn't Bob and Roberta Smith right when he says, you know, to argue that you're going to build houses is always going to trump the needs of the local community, saying we still want our library, actually, we still want our community college.
And that's what the London Assembly has been struggling against, for councils not to be one-dimensional and just pursue one target, and just realise they're building communities, not homes. And that means building community assets like doctor surgeries, like schools, like adult education centres. They've got to look at the whole picture, but it's a struggle in London. We're well short of the figures that we need in terms of building housing. Sadiq Khan said he would build 80,000 a year before the election. He's only built 17,000 a year. You know, these are real problems in London about housing. We have to address them.
You don't solve it by closing down people's futures and destroying educational assets.
I absolutely agree, and I hope the local authorities listen to this and listening to you.
The thing is, the council argue that there will be this educational facility 21st century, but there is this disconnect, isn't there? And it's particularly hard felt here at the moment between the authorities and the local community, who feel they're not listened to.
Well, the local community are right to be really worried about that asset. That asset is a fantastic thing. It teaches, you know, glass, it teaches ceramics, it teaches printmaking and photography, but it also, the amazing thing is, it's also a kind of Govian institution. It also allows people to do their maths GCSE and their English GCSE and learn English, and that's absolutely essential. That institution is the reason why London is such an extraordinary place. It's why we all live beside each other and understand each other. We should be building more in places like that. That is the answer to people who want to pull people apart, terrorists who want to blow.
But the truth is, we won't be building more, will we?
Building more.
Building more of these places. The truth is that
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Along with building homes,
are you going to campaign for that then?
Of course. Yeah, we've always campaigned very hard for adult education.
Very briefly, I mean, councils, local governments say face an overall $5.8 billion funding gap, and even if they stop filling in potholes, they close children's centres, they will never fill that gap. Very quickly.
It's a really tough situation for councils out there.
Will communities survive?
Of course they survive.
I'll tell you what, don't spend money on cladding and spend it on education. That's what they should be bloody doing.
Both of you, thank you very, very much for joining us. I'm afraid we're going to have to end it there.